Prepare for final battle!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kamidogu podcast. I am Christopher Beljanovsky, and joining me for this very special episode is not one but two superstars. First up, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Toasty.
Toasty!
And next up, we have our resident cheeky boy, Lou.
All the cheekiness in the world, but this is even more cheeky. Toasty, I'll give you $50, whatever you call it, to fucking just have that on throughout the whole podcast right now, mate.
I'll do it for the intro.
Okay, fair.
That'll do.
I'll give you 10 for it.
50p for that. Thank you so much for joining us for another great episode. If you enjoy our content, please consider sharing the show with your friends, as we have some great things planned for 2022. Secondly, please hit follow or subscribe wherever you watch or listen to the podcast, as it really helps us out. Finally, if you haven't checked out our previous episode, be sure to do so, as we had a great time speaking to the team at iBallistic Game Studio regarding their much-hyped Mortal Kombat Trilogy 4K remake. Please show your support for the project by signing their petition, the link of which is in that episode's notes.
Welcome back, combatants. Today is a continuation of our MK review series. Next up on the list is Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the sequel to the 1995 original, released late 1997, a sequel which ultimately shocked audiences worldwide. But maybe not in the way you're thinking. Let's just say, when you finish this movie, you will leave your seat annihilated. Arguably, to each their own, and deep down, there are a number of people who view this film as a guilty pleasure, including moi. This infamous film suffered at the box office, surpassing its budget by a pretty small amount, all things considered. Its predecessor skyrocketed, while this movie plummeted. Because of this failure, it was much to every Mortal Kombat fan's dismay that an upcoming sequel was nowhere near the horizon. It's always fun for Kamidogu to jump back into these reviews, and there is no one more fitting to join us than our very distinguished friend, Lou. Now, with that being said, let us begin as we dive into the cons and, strengths of this movie.
Amazing.
Want my $10, bitch?
Send over your details, mate. Worth it. How much was that thing anyway?
Yeah, where did you get that from?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Some costume shop.
Looks like roadkill.
That's yours.
Yeah.
10 is yours, boys.
So, boys, with a movie like this, really, where do we begin? Because let's start with where we always start off with the artwork. I think the artwork was pretty similar to the original, but obviously it's the logo's kind of blown out, and you've sort of got the skin underneath. It looks pretty cool. Like if you're excited about the first one, I think this one,
for sure.
You'd see it would whet your appetite, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah, it does have good art, and I'm not gonna lie. The logo is pretty damn unique, and it has always stuck out to me. And in return, of course, I have I put the tattoo on, and I also have this, which kind of mimics it.
Oh yeah, nice. Pretty.
So that is one of the few strengths of probably the movie. But there are a few, and we will go over them there. So,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've pretty much feel the same, because if anything, I actually preferred the artwork from Annihilation over 95. To be honest,
sure,
it was a bit more flashy.
Definitely.
Sorry, I think if you walked into a cinema and you saw the posters, it would definitely catch your eye a lot more than the original.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this movie. I think this movie killed off what was a great start for a potential trilogy, maybe.
Mm.
It did, actually.
The first one took off, and this one just slammed the brakes and more or less smashed into a brick wall.
And that's just putting it nicely.
And you know what? This movie had a very, very tight budget and a tight time frame to get this finished. So a lot of the things ultimately didn't make it to the screen, and I'm sure we'll go over them as this review goes along. But yeah, a third Mortal Kombat film, of course, was filmed. Donnie Meropis was set to be the main villain, and some of the OG actors were set to return. So it really is a crying shame that this movie was so rushed, because when Annihilation was sent to test audiences, I don't know what kind of substance they were using at the time, but they're like, "Oh, this is great! Oh man, wow, this blows our minds!" And so right away, the studio's like, "Well, why spend extra money on all these different layers of VFX if it's already good? We have no need to. It's already so well received." Blip. It was released out into the public, and the normal human being is like, like, it's just painful in so many areas.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's even just down with the scripting as well, because like even within like the first 5 minutes of the film, like they pretty much undone everything that the first movie did. Like when it was like Liu Kang and Raiden were talking, and they just simply said, "I thought our victory out more combat close those portals." And he's like, "Well, closers can simply be open again." He's like. Like, yeah, it just didn't really like. There's so many like lines in the film that just has undone number one so like a lot. And yeah, for me that was a big thing. But I only noticed that later on in life when I was like younger. For me, that was like amazing. Every word for word was like.
When I was a kid, God, this was the most
closed. Can it be open again? Oh my God.
When I was a kid, this was the most amazing movie. I thought it was the greatest thing, which is hilarious. But when you're a kid, you know, you don't notice, you know, a number of certain things. Like, now that I look at it, it almost looks like a Beast Wars cartoon or something. The CGI, the green screen is so atrocious. Like, I remember, like, one of the funniest parts is at the beginning where Raiden's doing his front flips to Shao Kahn. You can literally see the cutout around him. And then he lands, and you still see the cutout around him.
That's the thing. They needlessly keyed out the sky, and there was just so much lightning. Like, if you had epilepsy, you'd have to have a warning on this movie because there's just lightning constantly. And the sky was just needlessly, you know, horribly animated. So
yeah,
everywhere you looked, it was just, you could tell it was a green screen, and it was so poorly done. Like, you could buy like a green screen now and just film with your phone, and it would look 10 times better than, you know, this budget.
Yeah, sadly.
You know, they had the budget. What happened? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Rush.
If you're gonna do that, do it right. Otherwise, don't.
Yeah.
So, Toasty, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
From how rushed are we actually talking? Like, so when they actually had the script finished, so like having it like in production and then edited and then out into the world, how long were we actually talking here? Because I didn't know it was like as rushed as that, really.
Yeah, sadly, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that Robin Shou has pinpointed before publicly that it was just a rushed production, and this is why, you know, it really suffered, and so many scenes were meant to be elaborated on. For instance, the Sonya Blade and Melina fight. That was supposed to be much longer. Melina was supposed to have her iconic yellow eyes, and towards the end of the fight, her veil was supposed to fall off, revealing her Tarkatan teeth. Meanwhile, Smoke was supposed to be in this scene fighting Jax, but this was all cut out. Another thing I can think of course, is the Shiva fight. Yeah, it was supposed to be Shiva versus Liu Kang versus Raiden. Liu Kang begins with the bicycle kick, gets the upper hand, but then very quickly gets defeated by Shiva. Raiden, just by the skin of his teeth, manages to just win the battle. I think he does like a quadruple spin kick to her face, and then Shiva falls down from this building and dies upon impact. And last but not least, you got to think about this, guys. Nightwolf's crazy tests. He said there were 3 tests. How many tests were in the movie? 2. The one that was missing was to test Liu Kang's courage. Nightwolf wanted to see if he had the courage to overcome his fears. And so, fact, people, Liu Kang's fear apparently is spiders. Throughout a cactus, there was supposed to be a bunch of spiders. Yeah, just coming towards him, crawling up upon him, and he was supposed to just kind of sit there and take it. But he was in pain because he was struggling, and this would cause them to bite. And it's just very unfortunate that all this stuff was cut out. Yeah, weird, right? Kind of odd.
Like, baffled by that.
Yeah, it's in the novelization and an earlier script. It's there.
Well, I think the early warning signs were apparent. Like, to me, when a sequel is created and 90% of the cast don't return, that's your first warning sign. I mean, Robin and Talisa returned, but that's it. And I feel like I heard something the other day where the guy who played Jax had such a minor role. You think he would jump at the chance to actually have a major role? Actually,
he was very, very ill.
Oh, really? Okay.
So he couldn't return. Michael Jai White was set to play Jax, but he was dedicated to Spawn. So they dragged in
Did not know that.
Lynn Red Williams. Yeah.
There we go. So let's talk about the initial scene. The initial scene I refer to as flips and bricks because if someone isn't flipping, they're flying through piles of bricks.
Lou, you should have been in this film.
I love it. Yeah, honestly, I was ready. Love it.
Like, I think Brian Thompson did an incredible job as Shao Kahn.
Yeah.
But I think he was let down by the script. They tried to be cool. They added in some original sound effects, like when Raiden does his torpedo. It plays the sound effect from the game. That was cool.
Yeah.
But there was just when Raiden and Shao Kahn squared off, why do they have to flip into each other? Why can't they just walk up to each other? Like,
because that's not Mortal Kombat, mate. You have to be Mortal Kombat, and it has to be flips into the fight. That's how it works, mate.
I think the movie had something like 54 different flips. It was just absurd.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And I'm not forgetting about the fucking what was it? When he runs up to that little rock when he's fighting against Smoke, he does that like backflip, but the backflip is like 7 feet in the air. It's like
Dragon Ball Z flip. Yeah, that was nuts.
But, mate, it's ridiculous.
Gnarly.
Like we're actually going back to Battle of the Realms, boys. I tell you.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in that first scene when Shao Kahn shoots his fireball at Raiden, his fingertips are actually cut off. Have you noticed that? So if you actually look at it, because it's all green screen, if you actually look at his hands, the tips of his fingers are cut off. They haven't masked it properly. Because I spotted it and then I went backwards and I was like, no way. And when I saw it, I was like, they actually let this through.
It's sad. You know what's another funny one?
Yeah,
this is the most pathetic thing, most rushed thing you'll ever hear in your life. You ready for this?
I wonder if it's what I'm thinking.
When Rain gets hit by Shao Kahn's hammer and he goes flying into the fire, look carefully. Just, I think after the fire goes out, I believe. But anyways, look carefully. You'll see somebody's hands come up to catch the body. You'll see somebody's hands come up to catch him. And I'm not done yet.
I know where you're going.
During Baraka's fight with Liu Kang, when Baraka falls, they recycled the same footage of Rain falling.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that one. And I actually spotted that when I was a kid. It was bad.
Yikes.
It was
That's terrible. Like, granted, he's moving quickly, but Baraka's wearing white and red. Like, it's a pretty big contrast to black and purple.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Like, just leave it out. Just have the sound of flames and him screaming in the background.
That would have been better.
Screaming.
Yeah, so I think, like, me personally, when I don't even remember if I watched this ever when I was young. I believe I did, but obviously it was that forgettable.
It escaped.
Yeah, it escaped.
Yeah.
But for me, to be 100% honest, I didn't mind the movie for maybe the first half an hour, and then after that it became painful. Like, I could feel the pain creeping in, and I was reaching for, some paracetamol, but
reaching for that mercy.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it starts off pretty cool, and then Sindel walks up, to Katana. Mother, you're alive. Too bad you will die.
Amazing.
Like, honestly, were they aiming for it to be that cheesy?
I know, that is a whole new level.
I don't think it was actually, like, meant to be cheesy. I reckon that was them actually giving it their all. But
yeah,
it's sad though. But it's still a classic. So
even
like, every single time I hear that.
Why did the warriors all jump down in flames from the portal? Why does every warrior that lands on the ground have to do like a little martial arts pattern? Like, they can't just Kombat, land.
Chris.
It's like, land and I'll do like kick, punch, flip, and then pose. Like, it's overdone. Like, when you look back, you realize how ridiculous it is.
Guys, how about this? Let's talk about what special effects you guys think were actually okay. I want to know what you guys think. There's about 3 for me that I thought were okay. I want to get your guys' thoughts first. Can you think of any?
Luke? Absolutely.
You know what? I'm actually like coming off the screen a little bit because I don't want to answer this question.
I'm just thinking of the movie. I'm just rushing through it in my head, and I cannot think of anything at all.
No, it's hard.
The thing is that there's just like loads of things that they could have done to like just rectify it. Like, literally just have like, you don't need the background, like the sky in everything. Like, just go to a temple or something like that. That's all you need. And like, so much of that would have been saved.
Yeah.
Like, so much.
Yeah.
But they obviously managed to do that with the reptile one. Like, just being in like something.
So what did you think were decent?
Well, okay, actually, I might cut that down to 2. But
sorry.
You know what? To be honest, I personally thought that Johnny Cage's shadow kick looked all right. I thought it looked better than maybe the first one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, to be fair, from comparison from 95 to 97, I'll definitely say that was an improvement.
I mean, it was missing the color, but aside from that, it looked decent.
True.
I mean, but that being said, no wonder Lyndon didn't come back. He was, killed off instantly.
Yes, because he was one of the more expensive actors to afford at the time. So that is why in the script they purposely wrote him for that short bit at the beginning. And he was like, "This is a joke. My character dies right away." Which is almost
offensive.
Yeah, he was offended. So he said, "Screw this." Along with some of the other actors like Christopher Lambert. He said the script sucked. He publicly said that.
Yeah.
Bridget Wilson.
Didn't he say that in the Comic-Con as well?
Yes,
Sorry,
he did. Lou.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, I thought so.
Bridget Wilson, on the other hand, she didn't come back because she just, she decided to go with another role instead. Geez, it's evading me now what it was. Ah, yes, I know what she did last summer. She chose that movie instead. Yeah, that was the one. Other than Johnny Cage's shadow kick, I thought the beginning of a certain ability of Sub-Zero's looked great.
Is that when he was conjuring
with the water? When he first started making
before he made that bridge.
But then
actually, that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that looked wicked. But as soon as the bridge started being made, that computer graphics sucked, and the what they used when they were finished with the computer aspect of it, you can tell it looks like a piece of cardboard with some white salt on it. I'm like, really? That's
it was like
supposed
styrofoam or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was brutal. But yeah, those are probably the only two effects in the movie that are actually decent, I would say.
Very true.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think, this time, I think the costumes, again, the costumes in the first one were okay. Like, Shang Tsung had a pretty cool costume, and some of them are pretty cool, but I think this time, Sonya looked really generic. Just a tank top and shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Jax's arms look decent. I thought they looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
But overall, I think even like Scorpion looked better in the first one.
Yeah.
And Shao Kahn, his costume, like, I had a look. Brian Thompson is 1.91 meters tall or 6'3". The guy's huge. And yet he looked so small on the screen. And even Shinnok seemed to tower over him. Granted, Shinnok may have been floating off the ground, but still, Shao Kahn, with his shoulder pads and everything, he didn't look as like Brian Glynn in the first few games looked like an absolute beast. Whereas in this one, Brian was a beast, but he wasn't made to look that way.
Highly agreed. With what they can do with all these camera
Angles
tricks and angles in this, they should have upped that. But do mind you, this was John Leonetti's first film as well. His first film ever. So, but
gotta start somewhere.
Go from somewhere.
Start from the bottom. Now we're here.
Okay, let's talk about the performances, Chris.
Yeah, so I found Jax in this movie to be really annoying. He seemed to have a one-liner for every situation. Like,
yeah, now cool. What?
Yeah, I got Mr. Ed.
I got Mr. Ed.
I thought Sonya did a pretty good job. Just going through them. Raiden had his moments, but at other times he was just annoying as well.
James Remar did not suit the character. I think he is a decent actor, but Raiden was not for him. No,
not at all.
I think Robin Shu as Liu Kang in this one, he seemed to just whine the whole movie. He didn't seem humble. He was just always upset. And to me, that's not Liu Kang. In the first one, he had his moments where he was upset.
Yeah.
But he wasn't upset the whole movie.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He kind of, in terms of looking at this movie as a guilty pleasure, I love just how much Liu Kang gets his ass kicked in this movie. And the sound effects he makes are so priceless. Like, I remember when Smoke's kicking I think the worst one was maybe Smoke, when he got the living shit kicked out of him, and he's just lying there on the ground in pain.
He does that so much in that one particular scene as well. He does that so much. Too much.
Too much. Yeah, way too much. Mm-hmm.
So what about some of the other characters? What did you think of their performances?
Okay. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm sorry to anybody that has to hear this, but I'm not overly keen on Talisa Soto as Kitana. In this movie especially, she seemed so incredibly monotone. Like, it just seemed like it was just so wooden, her performance in this film. Like, what was the exact... I'm not a verbatim guy. Run, Lou. It's a trap. It's a trap. Leave. Oh, yeah. Or whatever. I'm like, oh, yuck. Just the way she performed that.
I think she was portrayed really well in the first one. She was this really exotic-looking, beautiful woman. And she, even when, she was leading them around, it was really cool. But yeah, this one, I think, like, she had a few fight scenes, which was cool. But I definitely agree with you. Yes.
That's what I was about to say. The fans
that was
real good fan service. Fan service.
Fan service.
Love it.
I was a fan.
I was a fan.
Yes.
I was her left fan.
So that was probably the highlight of Kitana, was probably the fans. Let's see, who else is there? Yeah, you did say Sandra Hess had a generic look, and I'll strongly agree. But I personally think she was one of the best performances of the film. You know, as a kid, I was kind of like, it's just not my Bridget Wilson. But, you know, growing up and just really, really looking at her performance in itself, in a lot of ways, it was better than Bridget's. It really was. It felt much more layered, and she really kicked ass in this movie, man.
She done so well.
Kicked ass. The only time she really got clobbered was from an unfair fight with Noob Saibot and Ermac towards the end. Other than that, she just killed it. And another highlight, of course, we must talk about is the kiss of death. That scene was phenomenal. I really like that.
Absolutely. And she saved Jax too, didn't she?
Yeah.
When he got his arm stuck in the wall.
What a lad. What a lad.
What a boy.
What a boy.
So,
and you mentioned earlier actors that were returned for the sequel, and it's very few. One of them is also Keith Cook, except he didn't reprise Reptile. Instead, he was Sub-Zero. And I made that photo on Twitter there many months back. I find he kind of looks like Nicolas Cage a little bit.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So I thought we'll jump on to... So Mortal Kombat, even at that time, was quite established, and there's a lot of story and that sort of thing. But they introduced things that didn't need to be introduced. So the Velospheres... You know, we had portals were well established. Suddenly they introduced the concept of Velospheres, which are essentially metal spheres propelled by the Earth's core. And they mentioned the potential to take hours to go from one place to another. Whereas the portals were in the first movie and Raiden was teleporting everywhere instantly. So, not to mention, on top of that, when they first take off, it looks like stop motion.
Yeah.
There's like 4 frames of animation when it starts to roll. Why did they introduce that?
That was a mistake.
Do you think it was introduced for the sole purpose of portraying or having Liu Kang and Kitana close face to face?
Yeah. I looked at that scene there when I just watched it, and it's funny because when he's almost falling down, like, I did that, and then goes
making
into
the noises again.
Yeah. And then when he like gets closer to Kitana, if you look at his face, it's like he's
and she's like,
looks like he's like smelling her.
Yeah.
It's like, is he trying to smell her perfume? Remember in the first movie, Johnny's like, I know she went this way.
True.
I can smell her perfume. I don't smell anything.
Imagine Liu Kang on a roller coaster, like from Annihilation. Like obviously with all the noises that he makes, like like him on a roller coaster, like literally, you can make like such a mad edit of that happening. I swear. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to make it. It's going to happen.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. What do you think is the worst scene in the entire movie? Now, think about it for a sec. On the count of 3, I just want us to say one word that describes that scene. And I want to see if we can all get it. I'm just curious, okay? Think of one word that describes that scene. On 3, 2, 1. Dragon.
Baraka.
Poo.
Damn it.
Oh, okay. That was an epic fail. But
Dragon.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, Dragon is fair. There's actually one particular thing. I know the dragon scene is really bad, but there's one particular scene that really gets me every time. And you know when like Baraka is, or a Tarkatan, whatever it is, like is on top of the cage with Liu Kang fighting. He goes for the slash and then goes for the other one, and Liu Kang grabs both arms and then just pulls him towards the bloody chain. And he's like, I'm like, every single time I see that, I'm just like, that is
It just looks so lazy.
really
Looks so
bad.
lazy.
Are you referring to the dragons? Like, for example, when the dragon that comes out of the ground and Jack starts punching him in the butt, or are you referring to the tattoos that turn into
I
dragons?
even forgot about that one.
You know what? The one that Jax is punching in the butt, that is actually funny. So I like that. And the dragon that comes out and eats Jade and then burps, that's funny. But the one I'm referring to, that isn't even funny. It's just sad. It's
The end, the
embarrassing
animalities?
as a Mortal Kombat fan. Is the Liu Kang Dragon versus Shao Kahn Hydra.
It's really bad.
The funny
It's not
part
even
in that
fun to
is
watch.
watching Brian's
No.
face when it starts to elongate. He starts to
Yeah.
But that scene is so painful to watch.
Yes.
I remember watching it for this review, and I couldn't even look at the screen. I had to turn away. It was actually hurting my soul. I think the concept of the animality was cool to add in, but the way it was executed was so bad. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even have words to describe that scene.
Because there was something on YouTube I saw from like the visual effects guys, and they actually done that particular scene, and it's so funny because as you see Shao Kahn, like obviously he says like you come prepared but not good enough. As he turns into it, literally like it's a 1 frame difference, and you can see the top of his head, and then it actually turns like literally the next frame is actually the bottom jaw of the monster, whatever it is. It's terrible. It's so bad, like how much money they've actually spent into making such a poor visual effects of all things. But it's a Mortal Kombat
With that
Annihilation.
being said, there's a lot of really bad clipping. Like I mentioned, the fingertips of Shao Kahn missing, but also when when they're in that canyon and Raiden comes flipping out of that temple with his new haircut, he just appears out of nowhere. There's not even an effect.
He really does.
And if
He
you
just
actually
out of
look
nowhere.
closely, when he lands and the camera zooms in, it then cuts really roughly and then pulls back, and it's just ridiculous. It just looks so wrong. And there's so many.
You can tell as soon as he lands that it's Ray Park, and then he jumps back up, and then it zooms out. You see it's James Remar. Oh, God. Yeah.
Shocking.
There's so many moments like that. It's just this is one of the most difficult reviews I've ever had to do, purely because just having to think about this movie actually hurts.
Right, I'm going to switch this up.
Sure.
Just very. Oh, go on. No, go on, Tasty. Go on. Say what you're going to say, mate. I'm going to change it up in a sec.
And another very hilarious scene that I just get a kick out of because it's so fucking stupid is the Raiden versus Raptors fight, the reptiles. Can you call that a fight? That was Circus du Soleil.
Flip, yeah.
That's flips and kicks, my friend. That is what I call tricking. That's a tricking performance right there.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
and it's so
It's really
obvious that it's not him in that scene too.
Yeah, again, Ray Park. Yeah,
Yeah.
Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to. Well, here's a question for you. What was your favorite scene in the entire movie?
Oh, that is easy, my friend. As ridiculous as it can be in some small moments, the best scene in the whole movie for me is the Liu Kang versus Smoke fight. I just thought it flowed so beautifully. Kitana's fight scene was also pretty cool. And now, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I personally thought that the look, the kind of design that they made for the cybernetic ninjas was actually really cool. I really enjoyed their look. And last but not least, I just want to say this scene also shows off, in my opinion, the best music track in the entire film.
I was about to mention
which
that.
is Fire by Scooter. Oh, I just love that scene so
that
much.
track was amazing.
So good. I actually said to my teacher once, who was actually trying to teach elements in her class, and I was like, I've got a really good song. It's called Fire. And she was like, oh, does it teach you all about elements and that? And I was like, Yeah.
Of course it does.
So I literally just gave her the CD, like showed it in front of like 20, 30 kids, and they were just like, fire! Like literally no idea what they were actually going on. Like they had not a clue. And I was just like,
I actually like in that scene before things kick off, how you actually see the trail of smoke at the bottom of the screen. That was pretty
Yeah, that was cool.
But I think it was strange how there was like that gap in the bridge, and you know, Lou and Katana couldn't cross. But then at the end, once the styrofoam cardboard bridge fell, there was this really obvious wire flip, and he's like, you know, he's got his hands up holding onto the wire. And the lava, I've never seen lava animated so badly. It was like they pulled it out of like Donkey Kong and like downscaled it.
That's
just
a perfect.
Sucked the color out, so it was like,
that really is,
you know, a whitish color, and then just threw it in there. Like, what was that?
And then you see the terrible green screen of like Sub-Zero falling.
Yeah. What about when he came in? He was on that, you know, that ice rope, so to speak, and he had his legs like up. And if you look at it, his legs don't even look. It looks like he's, you know, been involved in a truck crash, and his legs are all mangled, and he's just wrapped them around. They don't even look right.
Yeah,
it's like someone just loaded up each frame in Microsoft Paint and just goes, and we're like, well, he's not in the right position, but we'll just like bend his leg like that, just so it looks right.
And then not forgetting like Liu Kang's front flip shortly after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The cherry on top.
It. It's just so good. The distance alone from like 2 feet jump, punch, straight front flip. That's ridiculous.
How
like,
about
and I love how they tried to amplify. I love how they tried to amplify Scorpion a bit by like giving him like, what was it? Was it 2 or 3 or 4 different?
Yeah.
Was it 2?
Gave him 2.
I think it came out of both hands, but they split into multiple, didn't they?
No, it was the first one.
No.
It was just one hand, and it came out with 2. It was only 2.
Way too much.
But
it was 2.
That's what they were trying to do, though, weren't they?
Scorpion and Sub-Zero, especially in the 90s, were like the most popular characters. And they're literally in there for that. Was it the one scene? And then you never see them again.
I want to also mention something. Earlier, when I was talking about things that had to be cut because of time constraints and budget, this is one of those scenes, Chris. It was supposed to be a much, much longer fight. And at one of the anniversary events, Keith Cook revealed just that, and that there was so many great scenes, and when he had seen that they were not featured in the film, he was absolutely devastated because he worked his ass off for that scene, and most of it didn't even make it. So it's really
so annoying.
too bad.
Considering some of the shit they put in that movie, you'd have to question why they wouldn't put a scene like that in where someone's given their all, and then they keep... Like, when Nightwolf was introduced and he was, you know, he was barely in the movie at all, and yet he was portrayed as someone who would help Liu Kang understand how to defeat Khan. I would have loved to have seen Nightwolf standing beside them fighting too.
I highly agree.
He's all about the Earth and saving, you know, us, and yet he was nowhere to be found. He was like, I'm going to help you, and you can do the rest of the work.
Incredibly underutilized. And you mentioned costumes earlier. I personally thought that Nightwolf looked exquisite. I thought he looked
great,
perfect. So
fantastic.
That was one of the highlights.
Good. He was a great cast, I think, for the
Lightfoot.
role.
Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, real good.
Yep.
So, like when I was saying like changing everything up, I know that you've already said about your favorite song from that, like the Fire Scooter and whatnot. But like overall, is that like your number one favorite? And if it's not, what is throughout? Because like I said, for me, it's actually like it's actually the Mortal Kombat theme tune.
That was right after it.
Day one, I loved it. I preferred it over the 95 one personally as well.
Oh, thank you. I thought I was the only one. Okay.
No way.
Yes.
Annihilation's amazing.
Dead serious. I thought Annihilation's theme song was much better. I think it's called Encounter the Ultimate. That is a brilliant, brilliant tune. Much more fast-paced, and I don't know.
That's it.
Overall, I think though, like for me, they were the only 2 tracks that I enjoyed. Some of the tracks, I think the first one had a much better soundtrack. I think the second one, some of the fight scenes, the music just sucked. Like it just sounded like generic electronic.
I love
mess.
it.
Really, I didn't like it.
Yeah, there was some tracks from Annihilation that I didn't like, but there was a lot more that I did. Like even the Jackson Cyrex one, where when Jax like throws the table and he does that 360 backflip or that backflip thing, whatever he does, and that like music that goes with that is just so good to me. I love it. It's like a personal favorite of mine. Every single time I see that scene, I'm like, it's amazing. So good.
I personally very much enjoy both the soundtracks. It's hard for me to actually pinpoint tracks that I disliked in Annihilation, to be dead honest. But yeah, I will say this: the '95 soundtrack was much more successful, though. That's the one that I believe hit platinum charts and stuff like this. I don't think
you're right.
Annihilation did.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No. I don't believe so.
I think the fight in the medical research facility with Cyrax was pretty cool. Cyrax he looked cool, and he used his abilities. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't mind that scene at all, but I had to question why they changed his net to an acid net. And the guy kind of melted away into this horrible looking skeleton. There was no need for that. Like he could have, they could have just thrown it. Yeah. Go ahead.
No. You're like, I mean, to be fair, I wonder if it was like the effects, like spending too much money on the effects kind of thing. It was just easier for them just to get rid of the person instead of like just capturing them. Maybe.
Yeah, it could be budget reasons. It could just be how it flowed cinematically, and maybe they just kind of wanted to do their own spin. A lot of studios like to do that, but
maybe to show like a little bit more danger or something. I don't know.
True, maybe.
But
yeah,
I never actually thought of that. Actually, they did actually just do like the net as a
And J.J. Perry,
it was like more of an acid, wasn't it? I didn't think of that.
And J.J. Perry, who played Scorpion in this film, also played Cyrax in that scene. And fun fact, he actually got the living shit kicked out of him by Lynn Red Williams in that scene. Like he got real kicks, and it was after that scene that he filmed the Scorpion versus Sub-Zero fight, and he struggled greatly with that fight.
What? Because what happened with the other one?
Yeah,
because of the wow,
hurt so much from the Cyrax versus Jax fight.
That's mad.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they're like, though, aren't they? Like they proper go in on one another, don't they? Like I think I actually. Oh my god, I actually saw it from your guys' podcast.
Yep. I was just going to say that.
Where else am I going to find it? Where else? But the Komaduka podcast.
Yeah, that was you're referring to Brian and Robin Shu.
Yeah.
And he was kicking the shit out of him. Yeah.
Brian, that was great. So
it was great.
Yeah, so
as
good.
Brian said, a lot of the stunt coordinators or people involved with the martial arts in that film on that side of the world, apparently, they really go for it, and a lot of the times they do literally get physical. So
speaking of Brian, what do you think of the fact that they made Raiden and Shao Kahn brothers and Shinnok their father?
Cringe.
I want to be sick.
Yeah, that was like, really, and like, honestly, who the fuck cares? It's just like, really, I don't know.
Yeah, it
wasn't for me.
It was
Shinnok's his daddy,
I think.
And that is one of the weaknesses of kind of Shao Kahn in this film, is he's a little bitch. He's daddy's boy in this entire movie, and
but I did not expect this.
I was going to mention that. So in the first one, at the very end of the film, when they're all posing, and then suddenly the sky turns dark, and Shao Kahn's at the top. What did he say? You weak, pathetic fools! I'm here for your souls, or whatever. That's epic, and he sounds scary, and he looks quite scary up there too. And again, we go back to this film. Brian had so much potential, and he was the strong leader of this, attack on Earthrealm, and yet he was portrayed as Daddy's boy, and Shinnok was always a step above, and Shinnok just looked like a normal dude in a robe. He didn't even look like Shinnok.
No.
And yet, to me, if they were going to make Shao Kahn scary, he needed to tower above. Like, he could have killed his father and said, you know what, I've had enough of you. Get lost,
Oh, yeah, that would be something.
That would have been cool. But even at the end, like, Shinnok just kept showing up, and I just thought he didn't need to be in the movie at all. There was no reason. It wasn't even a fan service. He didn't look like Shinnok, didn't act like Shinnok. He just
I didn't
need to
realise
be
it
in there.
was Shinnok until, like, I don't know, like 6 years ago or something.
Yeah.
I really didn't know that was him.
I don't think his name
like,
even gets
all.
dropped, does it?
No.
I don't know. No.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No.
I don't
not in the
think
actual film,
so.
but it's not in the credits or anything, is it?
It might be.
I think
I'm
it
not
could
sure
be,
about the
but
credits part,
I mean,
but I
if
don't
it's in the
remember it being
credits-
dropped.
Oh, who
to me,
knows?
that is, like, no disrespect to the performance, but that did not need to be there. He could have just been totally left out, and it probably would have improved the movie.
Don't underestimate the power of the human spirit.
Yeah.
You let him live.
And just before that, Khan's on his throne, and then he flips down and lands in front of his father, and then, when Shinnok zooms up to the camera, and he floats up to the camera, and it's like, why? Why?
It's really not good.
I was actually going to ask you both what was the cringiest part of the film, but I think there was just so much cringe, it's impossible to pinpoint one scene.
For me, as I said, it was the dragon fight, because it's hard for me to watch that scene. I will admit it, and I will say I love Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but that is the one scene that I'm just like, oh my god, let's just get through this, But other than that, it's an enjoyable film.
And what's with the tattoos? They have the dragon tattoos, and when they're killed, the dragon emerges. Have you actually noticed in every single scene where that happens, it's the exact same animation? They just change the angle or zoom in a little more. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how rushed it was. But again, that is something that didn't need to be there. Why does Cyrax have a tattoo? He's a robot.
Exactly. Why does he? Could you
And
imagine
something
him
else I
sitting in
want
the
to
chair
mention-
getting it done? Like, oh man, it hurt.
Yeah. Something else I want to mention as well is back on that smoke scene. They mentioned that that Shao Kahn reprogrammed him, right? Can you imagine Shao Kahn in front of a PC, plugging a USB cord into smoke, hacking away? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
But this is when it comes out, Chris, that basically that Shao Kahn is like the number one like computer hacker in all of Outworld.
Yeah.
Little known fact.
He's just like a phenomenal genius, and he's like literally got the Lingwei cybernetic like under the palm of his hand, mate. He's a computer hacker. He just knows his stuff.
That's it, Lou.
He's up to date. He's got the latest iOS,
Send out smoke. He's having a firmware update. Just wait.
There's no Wi-Fi in Outworld.
Yeah, I think like if you rewatch the movie and really look at the small details, there are so many parts where it literally trips on itself and then trips on itself as it's falling again.
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to mention something that I realized watching this film recently. MK 2021 almost does kind of like a subtle callback to Annihilation in one scene. And MK 2021, Liu Kang says, if we're to die, it was supposed to be together. MK Annihilation, Liu Kang says, if we die, we will die in battle. Together. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you guys realized that.
No.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Just going to your Shao Kahn topic, like when you're actually saying about Shao Kahn not being as he's been like a, little boy, like, so he's, compared to like how Shang Tsung was from the original, I was expecting that he was going to be a lot more menacing and a lot more like evil.
Yep.
So I think that's why, like, the fact that you're right completely. I think they should have like just got rid of Shinnok completely. But the fact that you had Shang Tsung, who had like an amazing, like, I can't like, it was the best performance in that film, and it's still like, as we all know, he's still doing great today. Like, what is his Gary Takanawa? Is that his name? Sorry, the guy that plays Shang Tsung.
Hiroyuki-Tagawa.
Yeah, that's right. So, like, obviously he's like in Mortal Kombat 11 and everything. You're obviously not going to get that from Annihilation into Mortal Kombat 11 now. But you know what I mean? It was such a shame that from the end of Mortal Kombat 1, there was such a big, like, now this is going to be interesting. You've had like Shao Kahn blow up on top of like a temple or whatever, and he's like just looking over, saying, "You weak, pathetic fools, to come for your souls." And then in this one, he's like you say, on fire, basically coming through the portal, doing a front flip, and it's like, it's just a bit sad. It was a bit of a shame, but he's still done such a good job. It was just, like you say, it was just unnecessary that they had the whole Shinnok and the tattoo and Raiden and Shao Kahn being related. Like you say, Toasty, like, what was the point of them even putting that as a real thing, really? Like, it didn't need.
Their decision making to bring Shinnok was, I think, a poor one, of course, and it greatly brings down Shao Kahn, but one thing I'm thinking of, possibly, maybe they really wanted to write him in because the original ending for this film was once Shinnok kind of went in the Phantom Zone cubes and disappeared. But he was actually, realistically, brought to the Netherrealm, and the ending entailed it was him talking with Quan Chi in the Netherrealm, and the movie would just end with them kind of talking and smirking. They're devising this plan, what they want to do, and that could have been a cool ending, but I guess I don't know what happened. I think they realized the error of their ways, that maybe this wasn't a good film, and they decided to scrap it literally last minute. Scrapped it last minute and released it as it was. And funny enough, there are certain DVDs of Mortal Kombat Annihilation in the world that have Quan Chi on the front.
It's very true.
There's some marketing posters with Quan Chi in the center with the whole cast and things like this. And they did release one image, I want to say it was from a magazine, I believe, where you actually see Shinnok kind of walking through kind of like this cavern type area, and Quan Chi is just in front of him. That is the only leaked shot from that scene. That is, for Mortal Kombat fans, for us to see that scene would be like the biggest thing. But sadly, that is one of those rare footages that I don't think will ever get released.
Never know. 30-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Imagine all that hype for the 30-year anniversary, and it's just like deleted scenes for Annihilation.
Don't give anyone ideas, please.
Ed Boon's listening to this right now. He's taking my notes, I tell you. I'm predicting the future, boys.
One thing I want to make mention of as well is when Raiden gets his haircut. First of all, why? But secondly, why is he such a dick? Because
what's the deal with your arms?
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like, he's trying to be motivational. He's their leader, so to speak, and yet he's being a dick. So he questions and almost laughs at Jax's arms. And then when he sees, Jade, who's the girl? Can she fight as good as she looks? Like, are you a sleaze too? Like,
he's become human, man. So all that like testosterone and everything is like just through the roof. He needs to get his end away. So he's just looked at Jade. It's like, ooh.
Another topic of Jade, I think, in terms of her look, I think she looked pretty cool. Like, look-wise, I think she was great.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought she looked all right. That was that actress's, I forget her name. It was her first English-speaking role, but I think she did okay. I thought it was.
Well.
I thought it was so corny. The scene though, where she turned evil. All of a sudden, she magically has like these evil eyebrows.
Didn't she have? Yeah, the eyebrows went up here.
Yeah, exactly. What was that about? Like, all suddenly she's gone.
What?
Like, I'm full on evil now. Check out my eyebrows. You really didn't. It doesn't. I see what they're doing. It was clever, but just in later years, it's kind of like.
I feel like behind the scenes, there was some decisions that were just so poorly made. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, can you imagine having a brainstorming session and you're like, how about when she's revealed as evil, we'll angle her eyebrows up more? What a great idea!
You, sir, are phenomenal. Wait, we'll just do it right now. Just I'm angry.
Come on, Lou, do it.
Oh, mate,
for a tenner.
Hey, I'll give you your $10 back.
It's just for a tenner. Hey, I can't actually see this. 2 secs.
He's actually going to do it.
Oh, shit, bro.
That's good.
Yes, boys. I'm angry Lou now.
So anybody listening to this on our audio feeds
amazing,
needs to jump on either YouTube or check us out on Spotify, because you need to see the video version of this. It's classic.
I'm actually I'm happy, but I'm not.
You look like Felix the cat or something.
Just put whiskers on.
So clearly this podcast has gone from talking about a train wreck to becoming its own train wreck. So, I mean, is there anything else we want to touch on, or do we want to share our final thoughts and move on to our scores?
Very quickly, actually. Very, very quickly. I don't feel like we've really touched on it too much, but Sindel. Overall thoughts on Sindel, because me personally, I thought she was really good. It was just really funny for me how, like, she was basically horny for the fact of Shao Kahn banging his hammer against the Mortal Kombat logo. Like, just looking like, yes. Yes.
And every time you hurt someone, she was like...
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the fact, I got no time for excuses. Does it again. It's like, yes. She does it a few times, actually.
I thought her costume looked great. Aside from that initial line that everyone... makes fun of. I think she did a pretty good job. I think she looked great. She suited the part. And she's far from the worst, person.
Oh, worst, performance. No. I thought she was decent. They did something different, with her look especially, but I think it worked. I think she looked great. Her performance was all right, besides... having to do some of those shitty dialogue scenes, like the "too bad you will die." That's bad. I really liked the Mortal Kombat 3 callback, though. Right after she screams and that canyon's kind of crumbling down, she goes, that was fun. That was directly from her friendship from Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah. There we go.
Cool stuff. I love it. What about you, Christy? What are your thoughts on Sindel?
Yeah, I think her costume looked great. I think overall she did a great job. The only part that was a bit cringeworthy was when she was laying on that altar and Kitana was talking to her, and for a second we thought the spell had been broken, and then she just started laughing, and I kind of like sat back in my chair and I was like,
oh. Like that.
Like, that just looks so weird.
It is. Well, mate, that's the whole point. That's what Joe look weird, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I guess let's move on to our final thoughts and our scores for the movie. Who wanted to kick it off?
Go on, Toasty. Go on, Sam. It's all yours. You love it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to trail on too much like I usually do, but I'm just going to give this a very quick kind of rating. So, if you're going to ask me, I'm going to give this 2 ratings. So, if you're going to ask me, what my heart wants to say, it's an 11 out of 10, boys. Come on. This is so fun to watch. It's hilarious. The fight scenes are really good. And it's nostalgic and all these things. But if I'm going to look at it from a realistic perspective, I mean, this is a minimum 2.5 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's try to look at the strengths here. Awesome fight scenes, in my opinion. I thought the music was really good. The story was a lot of the performances were special effects were
Start our own soundboard here.
That's it.
I mean, we tried to find positives, but it's so little. So realistically, 2.5, but my heart 11.5. So what do you guys think?
So I would actually say the film for me was a 9 out of 10, right? Because it's not as good as number one. Like, we all know that it's not as good as number one, but again, if I was actually going to be doing it in terms of like being realistic compared to a lot of other good films out there, then yeah, I'll probably have to be as crucial as actually say like maybe 3 out of 10. Are we doing this in turds as well, Chris? Like, am I saying like I'm doing 3 turds out of 10 turds right now?
I think this
bad.
movie deserves to be rated out of turds.
Yeah, so I've got 3 turds right now, and it is like a half, so that's like a skid mark. 3 turds and a skid mark.
So good.
Yep.
How do I follow up on that? So in terms of my thoughts, it was a very painful movie to watch. I think the first movie set such a strong foundation, and really all you have to do to be successful is to build on your initial success. Don't stray too much. Don't make up things that, don't do the tattoos. Don't have the velospheres. Don't throw a million characters in there just for the sake of it. If they're not going to serve a purpose, or they only get, 30 seconds of limelight, don't bother. It's not worth it. You're better off focusing on a strong group, have a strong cast, and most importantly, have a strong script. They did not have that.
No.
And overall, like I said, the sort of the first half of the movie up until the medical facility, just after that, I enjoyed the movie. After that, it was just painful. And by the end, I was about to call for an ambulance because I just felt like I was having a heart attack. But either way, the smoke scene I thought was fantastic. That was my favorite with the music. The fight scenes were fairly decent overall too. But for me, I've racked my brain trying to think of a score, and the only fair score in my eyes is a 3 out of 10. I cannot give it any more.
So we're all pretty close. It's pretty much more or less a 3 out of 10 across the board, really.
Yeah, that's it.
More or less.
3 turds.
Yeah.
3 turds.
And 2.5 turds.
2.5. 2.5. 2 turds and a skid mark. I could be the skid mark part of the podcast. The 2 turds and the skid mark.
Chris really likes that
one, amazing.
All right, so I guess we've pretty much summed it up there. And so that's that. Our honest thoughts on a movie that is divided throughout the community. This has been very amusing. We hope you hopped along for the ride and enjoyed it. We want to give a big thank you to every single person that had tuned in today. We appreciate you taking the time. And please, tell us in the comments what you thought of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. We'd be thrilled to hear. As for this current episode, as our friend Shiva might say, the date's over. Have fun, stay safe, and
Stay flawless.